Welcome back to the Anime Audit. This episode we are focusing in on one of One Piece's more interesting and mysterious characters, a character that nearly every fan wants to see more of, if not, at least get more information on, that being, of course, none other than red-haired Shanks. Fact number 1. Shanks was the youngest original Yonko. In one of the more recent chapters of One Piece, it was confirmed that Shanks became a Yonko just 6 years ago. That means that Shanks became a Yonko in his early 30s. The other original 4 emperors are much older than Shanks, which goes to show just how important and powerful of a character he is. Shanks' rise to the status of Yonko would be a journey worth seeing and something I'd love to see more of in the future. I'd love to get more of a background on the original 4 emperors and a lot of the other characters before the series ends. It'd be extremely interesting to see what Shanks did on his rise to power and eventually achieving the status of Yonko. There's just too many mysteries surrounding him that more content is really what we need here, and I'd love to see it. Fact number 2. Shanks shares a birthday and a rivalry with Mihawk. The rivalry between Shanks and Mihawk is known throughout the One Piece world and has piqued the interest of fans ever since it was revealed. According to Whitebeard, Shanks and Mihawk's rivalry was full of ferocious clashes between the two, and the fights were famous throughout the Grand Line. Since Mihawk lost interest in fighting Shanks due to him losing his arm, who knows if we'll ever get to see another fight. Two of them don't only share a rivalry, the two are extremely close and in fact actually share a birthday, that date being March 9th. Interestingly enough, this date was actually chosen by a fan. Oda has a lot of characters to keep track of, so it's understandable that not all of them get canon birthdays right away. Sometimes fans will write in with suggestions for possible birth dates, or even come up with future characters. Oda will then take that information and make it canon. That's what happened with Shanks. The reason for his birthday being March 9th is actually due to the number 3, Shan, and the number 9, Kusu. Fact number 3. Shanks' crew is actually the only crew in One Piece to not have any devil fruit users, or at least any major crew that we've seen so far. Devil fruits are a pretty uncommon occurrence in One Piece, but it sure does feel like they're everywhere due to the crew constantly getting into fights with powerful enemies. So far, every other major crew in One Piece has had at least one, if not more, devil fruit users. You'd think that a crew as strong as the red-haired pirates would have attracted at least one devil fruit user. Who knows, maybe Shanks knows something that we don't and purposely doesn't want a devil fruit user and would prefer haki users who are able to swim. Fact number 4. Now looking further into Shanks, you see that his voice actors don't have that many other major roles. Shanks' Japanese voice actor has had multiple different roles, but his most notable roles outside of One Piece aren't that big and don't have that many appearances. Outside of One Piece, he's voiced Kite from Hunter x Hunter and Seijiro Hiko from Rurouni Kenshin. It seems like he is constantly cast as the main character's hero or a role model type figure. I think it fits his voice pretty well, and I hope that he continues to succeed in these type of roles. Now, Shanks' English voice actor hasn't had too many roles outside of his popular role in One Piece. He has appeared as a side character in the Dragon Ball series, Fire Force, and even My Hero Academia. Interestingly enough, Shanks' English voice actor has had another role in One Piece. Did you know that he also voices the pirate Orlumbus? Fact number 5. Oda identifies with Shanks more than any of the other characters in One Piece. According to Oda himself, Shanks is the one character that he believes he is most similar to. Oda said that he identifies with Shanks due to his cool and calm personality. Oda might feel this way because it's just how well crafted a character Shanks is, and might see it as some sort of a passion project. Despite us not knowing much about him, we connect with and adore Shanks, as his primary role is to be a father or hero figure to Luffy. Or at least that's all we've seen so far. I'm sure that there's much more to come in the future, and Shanks will have a major impact in the last arc of One Piece. Fact number 6. The Red Hair Pirates' anchor theme actually comes from Shanks. Several members of the Red Hair Pirates have a tattoo or an image of an anchor somewhere on their body or their clothes. This is most obvious during the flashback to Luffy's childhood, in which he's wearing a giant anchor on his shirt. And there might be a reason for this. The name for a stem on an anchor is a shank, and that could explain the anchor theme of the Red-Haired Pirates. Fact number 7. Oda actually planned to keep Shanks a secret. In the second version of the Romance Dawn series, Shanks wasn't present at all. Instead of getting his devil fruit and hat from Shanks, Luffy got them from his grandfather. But this isn't because Oda wasn't planning to include Shanks at all, it was because he had big plans from the future, and wanted to avoid revealing him until he could make a bigger impact later on. I love Shanks, but I think this could have been a really cool way to tell the story. Garp giving Luffy the devil fruit and being involved early on, and then Shanks coming in later on to save Luffy could have been a really great way to tell the story. Fact number 8. Shanks regrew his arm once. Well, at least for a short period of time. Now, this isn't so much of a fact as more of an interesting animation error from episode 461 of the anime. When Ace and Shanks first met up in the anime, Shanks is shown with both of his arms attached to his body. This was just an animation error, later corrected for future releases. Still, it's interesting to see that something so impactful to the start of One Piece could have just been overlooked by the animation team. I guess these things happen when you have over 1,000 episodes and are constantly pushing out more One Piece content. Fact number 9. Shanks was the only original Yonko from one of the 4 Blues. In fact, the other 3 Yonko were all from the Grand Line. Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido are all originally from different parts of the Grand Line. It's interesting to see that Luffy's hero was the only member of the 4 Emperors to be from one of the Blues. The West Blue, to be more specific. I also think it's a missed opportunity, as the 4 Emperors could have easily been from one of each of the Blues, and that it could have easily had its own plot around that. I mean, how cool would it have been if both Ace and Luffy had heard tons of stories about someone like, I don't know, Whitebeard, being from the East Blue and somewhat idolizing him as he's more or less the hero or the strongest pirate from that blue. It would have been a really cool way to tell the story and could have been a great moment in One Piece. Fact number 10. Shanks is the first character to use haki in One Piece. Well, the first person that we see use it anyways. Shanks uses his Conqueror's haki in One Piece for the first time quite early on in the series, and it might have been something that most of us didn't catch, since it was so early on and we hadn't seen or heard of haki at that time. It definitely just came off as intimidation to me when I first saw him use it. We see him use haki right after saving Luffy from the Lord of the Coast, which was the Sea King that tried to eat Luffy and took Shanks' arm. Shanks used his haki to scare off the beast and save our protagonist. Although Conqueror's haki was an ability that was later explained by Rayleigh right before the time skip, Shanks was the first person in the story to truly demonstrate its usage. It didn't seem like some sort of power at the time, but to be fair, we didn't know much about haki that early on in the series. Fact number 11. Shanks' sword is named Griffin. In SBS Volume 94, Oda actually showed us what his sword, Griffin, would look like as a human. He personified his sword into an old man with a beard, a long nose, and a ponytail. This detailed description makes me feel like we might get some more information on Griffin in the future, or that the sword might get some sort of backstory. Either way, I'm excited to see more on Shanks and get a little bit of a backstory on him and just his rise to power. In the very least, I would just really like some more appearances from Shanks and just more information on what he's up to. Now, lastly, we've got fact number 12, and we have the fact that his drinking was removed from the 4Kids dub. Now, 4Kids is notorious for removing things that they deem to be too violent or sexual content. In Shanks' case, most of it was revolved around drinking. This actually created the impression for fans that Shanks was extremely intimidating. The cuts made it so that when Mihawk shows up to tell Shanks that Luffy would soon be arriving, Shanks asks him to stay. The reason he asks him to stay is because he wants him to stay and drink with him and wait for Luffy to show up, but because the drinking and partying was removed, it just more or less sounds like Shanks is refusing to let Mihawk leave and plans to fight him. And that kind of makes sense when you consider Mihawk's interaction with Luffy so far. Now, that's all I've got for today, but I just wanted to say that finding information on Shanks was a lot harder than the other Straw Hats I've done videos on so far, so make sure you drop a like if you enjoy the video, and make sure you subscribe, comment down below. We'll see you next time.